And although it has ended, as you can see behind me, people are still leaving flowers. And just moments ago, a passerby came and left more. Now, when that vigil was happening, there was a line out the door and down the street of people coming in to support the community. The first engine pulled up right there, but could not get any closer to the home because of how big and strong those flames were. Now, as they waited for more engines to arrive, according to the documents, these new charges are for 2 new victims. And if admitted, these charges would be added to that long list. Sheriff's office says they were looking for the father and son last night and into this morning, but that their search ultimately stopped right up this hill. Sheriff Roybal tells me his office has been mischaracterized, and it's important all sides in this story are told. Those flames started right down in this alleyway, and as you can see tonight, it is still coned off. But last night we spoke with one property owner. We've been seeing flashes come from that window as investigators are still taking photos. Police say this is right where the officer fell, nearly 40 feet, and this angle really puts it into perspective just how far down that fall really is. And officials on scene tell me that stolen property was found at this house right here, parked right on the street and on the front lawn. They tell me they're excited for the official announcement, new season, and what a coach with a winning record could mean for their team. It is absolutely packed in here with friends and family, and Governor Polis and Colorado Springs Mayor John Suthers also stopped by. And like I said, take a look behind me.
Do you believe El Paso County is a racist community?
Absolutely not.
Sheriff Joe Roybal is speaking only with 11 News after an article from the Ark Republic went viral. In it are claims made by ranchers Courtney and Nicole Mallory that they're being forced off their land because of their race.
We believe that all of these hate crimes and these violations and the stalking that we have endured and the harassment that we have endured are a direct result of the failure of departments.
I spoke with the Mallorys moments after Courtney bonded out of the El Paso County Jail. On February 6th, Courtney was arrested for allegedly stalking his neighbor, Teresa Clark, and officials tell me Nicole turned herself in November for similar felony stalking charges.
They put cameras watching our house along that easement, including one pointed directly at my bedroom window, one at our front door, one at our back door.
Court documents say deputies seized multiple cameras and motion sensors from the Mallory's property. Clark tells me the couple drives down the dead-end easement between their properties 6 to 8 times a day. This road, which is just about 60 feet wide, is what divides the Mallory's property, which is on my left, from the Clark's property, which is on my right.
You know, being framed for something you didn't even do is the judicial system has really failed this time. They need to do their job a whole lot better.
In the arrest papers, the investigator calls the suspect's behavior unusual and disturbing.
I'm absolutely fearful of the Mallory's. I'm fearful for my life. We leave these people alone. That's the reason why we live out there. We want to be left alone.
Clark is suspected of violating a protection order, a misdemeanor charge. After 170 calls for service, Sheriff Roybal tells me this has gone past a neighborhood dispute and that 19 now closed and unfounded complaints have been previously filed against his deputies. The sheriff's office says most came from the Mallorys.
If I had any indication that a staff member had some bias and was treating people based on those bias inappropriately, I assure you that I would take appropriate action immediately.
Sheriff Roybal says his office is committed to serving everyone in the community regardless of race, and that he doesn't want to see anyone injured over this dispute.
To the Mallorys and the Clarks, please speak with me. Let's find a peaceful resolution for everybody to live out there harmoniously. And remember, the reason why you moved out there is for peace and open space.
I mean, obviously, no. I mean, here's my interest in this. I'm a concerned citizen just like everybody else.
Former county commissioner and state legislator Mark Waller tells me he believes the legal system failed in Anderson Aldrich's 2021 case where the alleged Club Q shooter mentioned wanting to be the next mass killer. 11 News first brought you sealed documents in the days after the shooting.
I think the DA has an obligation to come clean and to let the public know, let the victims of the Club Q shooting know, let their families know why that original case wasn't further prosecuted.
Search warrants released by the sheriff's office say they found over 100 pounds of bomb-making materials, all belonging to Aldrich. Arrest papers also say Aldrich live-streamed the standoff with authorities and threatened law enforcement.
Why weren't all of those other charges filed? Bomb-making materials, the obstruction of justice that could have been charged, felony menacing against all of the officers that were out there.
The 7 charges filed in the previous case all relate to Aldrich's family. Court documents show the DA was not successful in serving them subpoenas. The case was dropped just months before the Club Q shooting.
The only way that it would have prevented the tragedy is if the witnesses actually were present at trial, testified, and somebody was convicted.
That's what District Attorney Michael Allen said in a news conference 2 weeks ago. He said without the victims, the prosecution could not go forward. Court transcripts show this case was assigned to 5 different deputy district attorneys.
When you have a case passed from person to person to person to person, obviously things can fall through the cracks.
We did everything we could have done on that case.
So there's nothing you would change about how you prosecuted the case?
I'm going to go to the next question.
He ended up killing my daughter's boyfriend.
Rich Fierro says instincts took over when he grabbed the alleged Club Q shooter and took him to the ground. He says he pulled 2 guns away from him and tells us that's when another patron jumped in to help.
Kept wailing on him. And I told the kid in front of me, kick him in his head, keep kicking him in his head. I'm yelling 911, somebody call 911.
Fierro credits his military training for his quick action. He tells us he did 4 tours in the Army and served for a time at Fort Carson. But despite the outpouring of praise, Fierro says he wishes he was able to do more.
I feel for every single person in that room. I feel no joy. I'm not happy, I'm not excited. That guy is still alive and my family is not.
Among the 5 victims who lost their lives was Fierro's daughter's boyfriend, 22-year-old Raymond Green Vance. Fierro says he considered Vance to be family and that the loss is devastating, especially to his daughter who broke her knee during the shooting.
And thank God Raymond was smiling, he was dancing with my kid. And my daughter got to spend her last day with him happy.
Fierro says he wants justice for those killed and injured by the alleged shooter.
I'm gonna see that guy in court, and that guy's gonna see who did him.
Fierro tells us he and his family need time to heal and that he'll always remember the 5 victims who lost their lives that night.
I wish I could have done more, okay? But those people aren't home tonight. I am, and I'm really upset by that. It's not something I'm proud of.
How are you feeling right now after seeing all that?
Upset.
Jake Mays' property was overtaken by flames last night. He tells me he lost at least 2 sheds in the blaze and that he suspected it was from homeless activity.
I told you earlier, it must have been a homeless guy who started it or something.
Today, officials confirmed his suspicions. We spoke with the fire department just hours before this fire. They said people should contact authorities if they have concerns about their property, saying homeless campfires increase in the colder months.
The challenge is that when that's not done safely or it's done illegally, that can pose significant risk to businesses in our community.
But Kevin Murphy, owner of D2 Demo and Dirt, says his building is a total loss. Murphy says previously he told authorities he was worried and put up this concrete barrier to protect his building from homeless camp activity. Tuesday night, 50 firefighters responded to his property.
When we first got here, heavy smoke throughout the entire building, pushing everywhere throughout.
But I do know there's only 1 Bronco games left. What are the odds you think we'll take home that win? Quintana tells me she and her 4-year-old daughter were terrified while Morales drove them across county lines, deciding whether or not he'll run for a 2nd term. Former President Trump has already announced he will, by the amount of discovery submitted by the prosecution. But DA Michael Allen says the prosecution plans to present it. The father and his son were skiing outside the boundary of the resort when the avalanche happened. Officials report the father was partially buried, and shortly after that, Centura delivered their first baby named Ira Sue Bernard. According to Colorado Springs firefighters, it was accidental, caused by food being left on the stove. Accused Leonard of stealing over $100,000 worth of auto parts. Right now, parts of California are dealing with deadly floods. At least 2 people are dead after heavy rain hit Northern California. He joins us with more information on these laws. Aaron, these bag fees have gotten a lot of attention. If they had, he believes Aldrich could have been behind bars at the time of the Club Q shooting. At the same time as that fire, firefighters responded to another one just 7 miles away. Power is out for tens of thousands of residents, and now there's concerns about flooding. According to the state, self-employed workers and independent contractors can access the funds if